Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style.
And I'm Jill Chippers from Shop Your Wardrobe. And in this video, we've been asked to talk about your process for getting ready and how you can adapt, morph, change that when your rules change, when your body shape changes, or when your colouring might be moving from one kind of colouring to another, or some other aspect. Maybe your work has changed or your lifestyle has changed in a way. So what do you do and how do you adapt your process for getting ready when your circumstances have changed and therefore your rules have changed?
So when I changed my hair from brunette to blonde, that changed my contrast.
Yeah.
And honestly, it took me over a year, I think, to really get used to having a lower contrast. I'd always been high value contrast.
Yeah.
So honestly, it took a lot of thought. I mean, that was one of the things that I'd be standing in my wardrobe going, every outfit that I used to automatically put together just didn't work. And so I had to rethink my process. So I'd put things on and go, no, there's just too much contrast there now. This outfit doesn't work like it used to.
Yeah.
So I had to learn my new rules. So whether it's like, going through menopause and often body shapes change, or pregnancy or post-pregnancy and your body shapes changed, or taking medication that also can sometimes bring out body shape changes, just aging and colouring changes, we'll lighten up, we'll soften down, all sorts of things happen. So part of it is getting the new information about what works for you today, and letting go of what worked in the past.
Oh God, yeah.
Because that is one of those things, is when you've dressed all your life because you've got a waist and you've had this great waist and you've just always dressed in shapes that suit that waist, and suddenly you don't have a waist anymore, it will take you a while. And I think this is the thing, is sometimes I think we have this expectation that we'll just wake up and go, well, this is the new thing, and we can just immediately change. There is always time involved. It takes a while. We're building new neural pathways. And if you think about it, the first time you do it, there's barely a mark in the grass. But then the more you go up and down that path, you start to create that path. It gets wider, and then you might put some paving down, and then eventually you might concrete it over, and then
Landscaping.
all those things. So it's that we've got to remember, our brains are flexible, they can change.
Absolutely.
But we need to keep developing. So it's not something that will happen overnight. And it does take time. I know for me it's taken time.
Yeah.
And you're currently in the process of slightly, changing, softening down your colours. So how are you approaching this?
Well, there's been two major things. One is a transition that I'm in now with my colouring. But when I went from big corporate to working for myself, that was a massive change.
Yes.
And it wasn't until a friend actually pointed out to me that I was still dressing like I was working for a big corporation, big global corporation. And it was a shocking moment, it really was. Now, I was 29 and, still kind of putting it all together. And I look back now and I think, oh, God, what did I know at 29 now, son? But I remember really being quite flabbergasted. This was brand new information. To talk about a new neural pathway, one was just taking in this information, which felt like a wet cod to the face. And then the next one was sort of going, is this true? Well, I mean, yes, it is true. And then what do you do with that? And that was a huge transition for me that I feel I was quite slow in coming to grips with, and then all this experimentation to try and make it work, and that's when I started to discover colour. And so that process was actually quite protracted and painful, and that was really my first experience of a conscious changing rules, and that was really about style of dressing.
Yes.
And at the moment, the transition going from zesty colouring to spicy, and I really feel I've got a foot in both.
Yes.
And I'm doing that deliberately, possibly contrary to expert advice. But I love zesty. I love everything about that zesty colouring. I love the name, I love the colours, I just love it. And I also love the spicy stuff, but it is new and it is a softer version. And so that, I'm doing some mixing of the two together. And so yellow is a really good example. I've got a lot of that sort of punchy, sunshiny yellow, and I will still wear that, but I'm aware of not wearing that with other zesty colours.
Yes.
So I will wear that with more of the spicy. So I'll wear that with more of a paprika rather than a tangerine orange, for example. And that's my way of sort of having the two at the same time. I'm not sure I should have two at the same. Should I have two at the same time?
I'm currently going between refined and sublime, so I'm in exactly the same. And some days I feel more brighter. I'll go for more for my refined palette, and other days I'm happy to embrace the softer, but it is a mental change. And what's fascinating is that you said it's painful. I think, there is no magic spell, there's no magic wand. I can't sprinkle fairy dust on you and just make everything happen. This is a process of learning new information, of trying new things, and of embracing change. Change for many of us is actually quite hard to deal with. There are some types who embrace change more easily than others. Others find it really difficult, and also depending on what's going on in your life as well. I think one of the things with particularly menopause and change is not only is my body shape changing, and possibly my colouring as well, but it's the end of my fertile life. Now, I may have decided I'm not going to have any more kids anyway, but it's actually a major stepping stone in life. That actually has a lot of kind of far-reaching effects, I think. And so we've got to, so when the stuff around us changing, we often cling to what we know. So having to make all changes at the same time is actually very hard for us.
And that's such a good point. And one of the things to be aware of is don't set yourself up to fail by having too many variables at play at once. It can just be too overwhelming where you either let things slide or you get overwhelmed and fatigued or stressed. And so, you want to make, I think, the things that are happening with colour and style and dressing and all that kind of stuff, you want to make that the reward part of the change. I think you want to add in as much positivity and fun to that. And so for me, rather than making moving to spicy, a sign of aging, I haven't made that association. I've made it, this is great. I get to have two colour palettes for a while.
And you get to have something new. Also too, think about it as baby steps. Don't assume that one day you're this and you're just going to get the whole thing wholesale. This is just a little baby step and a little bit, like we're just going to move at a little bit at a time. We're going to try one little thing at a time. We don't have to throw everything away and start afresh. It's just going, okay, well, my body's changed, my colouring might have changed. And do understand that if you have other changes going on in your life, changing of job, changing of career, moving house, anything like that, relationships changing, then if that stuff is going on for you as well, you are really not going to want to, you're going to hang on to what you know. So understand, and that's okay, that what will happen is when that stuff settles down, then you'll actually be able to embrace the other changes more easily. Because humans, okay, we might be resistant to change, but we also have a need for variety.
Absolutely.
And so this is why fashion is fashion. We get bored. We want something new. The fashions change, because that actually is one of our human needs, is for variety, as well as having a human need to feel stability. So we can only embrace change when we have stability in other parts of our life. So I do think that do expect it to be baby steps. Do expect it to take way longer than you think. I mean, I know any change that's gone on in my life. When I had my breast reduction, that was a major body change. It probably was another year. Before I kind of I stopped thinking of myself as someone with enormous breasts. There's all these sorts of things. It takes a while. Give yourself a break.
And on a practical level, a couple of other things that are helpful is, one, start to weed out the things in your wardrobe that are no longer working. And having a big wholesale chuck out, look, for some people that big leaping across the chasm can be helpful. For other people, that is just too radical a change at once. And doing it in small steps, so as you go through that process of this didn't make me feel good or this no longer works, that's really helpful. And the second thing, the transition of new items into your wardrobe, also approach that, I think, in an incremental way. So you're not going out and saying, right, all the zesty stuff is gone and spicy is in. But doing that in an incremental way as well. And so then you do have this transitional period that keeps you safe, but also keeps you moving.
Yes.
And they're just two practical things to think about as you go through the process.
So particularly with the removing things from your wardrobe. Now, if it's uncomfortable, like you feel physically uncomfortable wearing it, just get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're going, well, it's got some redeeming features and you do like it and something or other, but maybe it's not quite the right colour. Sometimes I go, well, can you dye it?
Yeah.
Can you change the colour of it? Or it can be, can you make an alteration to it to make it work for the body you have today?
Yeah.
But then if you think, I think I want this to go, I will often say, put it away in a box in another room in the garage. And particularly if you're having that, I'm going to have a wholesale throw out, get rid of put it all away, but don't actually physically get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because I have seen too many people in tears where they said, I got rid of all this stuff that I loved and now I wish I had that back and I'll never have it back. It's just put it away. And then, what happens is when we're not seeing it all the time, the emotions attached to it get further, they get more distance. And then down the track, like if you suddenly realise 6 months later that you're really missing it, well, you can go and get it. Sorry, but if you say, now for some people it's not 6 months, but for some people it is. For some people it's a year. You've got to go through the whole cycle of seasons because, that will also influence. But then say in a year or so's time that if you've not missed it and it's been in that box, just then let it all go. Like just go, I can wholesale let this go because this stuff, I've not even thought about it again. So I think that can be useful. For some people it's like get rid of the obviously wrong.
Yeah.
But also think about there are alterations, there are dyeing, there are other things you can do. We don't have to just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. And just on that point of not letting things go completely, I'll put things in my charity bag and I'll put them in the boot of the car. And if I literally have forgotten about it until I open the boot a few days later to do the groceries and go, oh, that's right, and I can't quite remember what's in there, it's a really good sign that I'm not going to miss it. And somebody else could be enjoying that and getting really good use out of that. If I'm sitting on the fence, honestly,
yes.
Let it go.
So this is where we can go down loss lane, where we start to regret our decision to wholesale throw things out. So I think it's just sometimes be a bit cautious and understand all those other elements that are going on in your life that will be influencing how you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And changing your rules is not happening in a vacuum. It's happening because something else is changing in your life. And being your own best friend and being kind and practicing self-compassion during that period of time, as well as practical things as well, they're all part of the picture. It's a multifaceted, really fascinating part of your life. So we hope in this video we've given you a few different thoughts to have you thinking about that. And if you have been through a major transition, major change in style rules, we'd love to know about your experiences and how you managed it emotionally and psychologically and mentally and practically and however else you managed it.
Yeah, please share with us in the comments.